So mining affected communities united in action have refuted claims by the Mineral Council that mining companies are taking good care of the areas they operate in. The council stated that mining companies have invested over 4.9 billion rand on social investment and development programs in the last year. But mining communities say this is misleading as they remain poor while millions worth of minerals are being extracted from their land. For more on this, we are joined by Executive Director of Mining Affected Communities United in Action, Christopher Rutledge. Christopher, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, these are some interesting numbers. Perhaps we start here, right? The council saying mining companies have invested over 4.9 billion rand on social investment and development programs. You say, do you agree with those numbers? Let's start there.
Good morning, Nelly. Yes, thanks. So, no, we find the numbers to be quite disturbing for a number of reasons. But I should first point out that both in the Minerals Council statement and in what we have found in reality is that the Minerals Council said, you know, this is an organization who the mines belong to this organization, and they're saying to us that they couldn't find accurate information, right? Because this is one of the problems. The information is hidden away. It's not made public. It's kind of difficult to find an accurate picture. And so to some extent, I understand why the Minerals Council might come up with a different figure, but our information that we took was from a PricewaterhouseCoopers annual report. Now, PricewaterhouseCoopers does an annual report every year on the mining sector, and we looked at their South African reports from 2009 to 2018 in the first baseline report that we did. And there we found that mining companies were claiming to the public at that point, between 2009 and 2018, that they had contributed something like 7.5 billion rand towards mining affected communities. Now, at that time, we had done a social audit to say, okay, you're saying there are 7.5 billion rand that you've spent towards mining affected communities. Let's see if we can find it. So we went out, we did an audit. We said, okay, you said there's, for example, a food garden that you supported. Where is this food garden? In one case, we found a little garden in the back of somebody's yard, which the mining company had claimed they'd spent 2 million rand on. Now, that's absolutely ridiculous. In other instances, we found clinics that were supposed to be built was basically just an empty shell. Waterwork projects that are not working. Infrastructure that is not happening. So in all, we found that 71% of these projects, we couldn't find the evidence for them. Meaning that, you know, almost 79% of this was being either we are being lied to, or that money is disappearing in a pit of corruption. Now, it's in our experience, again, it's very difficult because these mining companies are saying one thing to the country, but in reality, they're doing another thing. We just now have communities in Harmony in the Free State who are trying to talk to the mine because the mine's operations has flooded their homes. Every year, their homes get flooded, their houses are underwater. And when the community comes to the mine to talk, then the mine turns to violence. And now the community wants, the mine wants to shoot and attack the community. We had the same thing at Sepako mine in Springbokpan in the northwest. The community goes there, they want to talk, the mine says, no, we don't want to talk. The same thing happens in Brits, where a community had to sleep outside a mine for 3 weeks to get an answer. And then even then, you know, Glencore Mine refuses to work with the community and wants to work with traditional councils. So all in all, we have a situation where there's anger building in the community. The Minerals Council's out here lying to the public about what it is doing, and the mining companies just refusing to talk to communities. So there's an anger building up in the community that I think the Minerals Council have to take responsibility for, and they have to take account to the South African public for these misleading numbers. How do we drop in 2018 from claiming to produce 7.5 billion rand to now in 2022, they're saying, no, we contributed 4.9 billion rand, and then saying, wow, look at us, we're so great. And I think that is quite disturbing.
I mean, it's interesting because you're raising two issues that stand out there for me. The decline in investment in community development projects And then there's the example of what those projects actually look like when you hit the ground. So I'm going to actually open this up to our viewers. I'm keen to hear from you. Send us an X at Newzroom405 is the handle, at Newzroom405. If you are in a mining community, perhaps send us pictures of projects that you have seen that really show us what mining communities or mines have been able to do for mining communities. And then there's the issue of, I suppose, transparency, right? I mean, you say communities have said that they want to speak to the mine, they want to get answers from the mine, and in some cases you say the mine just has not been able to do that. How transparent even is the documentation to the community? So things like the social labor plans that in fact mines must have for them to operate.
Yes. So we've done a lot of work over the years, over the last 10 years, with other organizations, like the Center for Applied Legal Studies, for example. We did some very important work to try and figure out what and how can communities access these social and labor plans. And we found it almost impossible to get these. Eventually, the Department of Mineral and Resources did include in their regulations a need for all of these things to be published. So mining companies should publish these on their websites. But community after community, and we've done almost 50 social and labor plans now, and community after community, we're finding that it's very difficult to get this information. We have to beg, we have to make almost PIA applications, we have to go through various channels. It is extremely difficult. And in some cases, we wait for years to get information on these things. So there is a secrecy that surrounds these projects. And again, mining companies are colluding with politicians in the local areas, with traditional leaders. So what they do is they give this information to this small group of people and say, okay, you represent the community. And the community is saying, no, the traditional council does not represent us. We want to be in there and understand the issues and contribute to the issues that affect us. Because, traditional councils often have a situation where the traditional leader gets 4x4 in the house and a regular income from the mine, while the communities are living in poverty. I mean, it is an absolute disgrace. Parliament knows about this. We've worked with Parliament to change the law, but then they gave up towards the end because there are better things to do. The DMRE knows about this. They've had a summit in 2023 in which these issues were raised with them. We've given them reports showing that this SLP process is not working. And you must keep in mind that after the 2021 court judgment, which struck down the mining charter, there is nothing else that keeps these mines accountable for the constitutional imperative of redress and ensuring that communities participate in a participatory democracy. This is an ongoing thing, and mines have been so arrogant. And it's a system of organized looting because they are walking away with billions and communities are living in poverty. Now, lady, you must know that we're talking about communities where unemployment rates are up to 80% now. It is absolutely desperate times, and yet the mines are not talking to communities. They don't care about communities. And, but then on the same hand, they want to go out and make aberrant claims, like out of this world claims about what they are doing, and yet it's not true.
Yeah, it's, we need to talk a little bit about what we're seeing then from a governance point of view. We're awaiting, of course, the announcement of a cabinet by the president, and one of the more hotly contested departments is, of course, the Department of Mineral Resources, right? And we need to talk about what needs to happen there. I mean, just recently, this week, Sibanye-Stillwater's CEO Neil Froneman has said that this government of national unity must bring meaningful change if it is to enjoy continued support from business. I don't know if you want to talk to me about what you think that means when we've seen Sibanye-Stillwater certainly getting into quite a bit of trouble with its employees as well. And if you want to touch on the politics, you're more than welcome to, right? What the president should be doing with this important department.
Indeed. So again, the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy has been quite reluctant to again listen. And we've spoken to, we've reached out to him on a number of occasions, and we said to him, your arrogance is going to see you lose votes. And today that is happening. Because we got to a point with the DMRE and the ANC particularly where we said, look, you guys are not listening to communities. We've never been a movement that campaigns against any political party or for any political party, as we are non-partisan. But if it gets to that, then, and it did get to that, where we said, look, you guys are not listening. And so we have to start actively decampaigning the ANC. And, the voters have listened. But at the same time, we are very concerned that there are still millions of people who are not heard, who are not participating. And those are the types of constituents that we try and reach out to and work with and ensure that their voices are heard. So, we would like to see a much more responsive leader being put into the ministry. The old minister is too arrogant, too old, too stubborn to listen to anybody besides himself. And we think he will be the wrong person for the job. So we're hoping that the president will come with somebody that is not as closed in his views, not as arrogant in his stance, so that we can have a conversation. We've reached out to the DMRE. They have now opened the door for us to have a conversation again, multiple times. We've reached out to the Minerals Council again to have a conversation. We are building in BZOs across the country. We've got a mandate from our community summit, which we held in February, where we had over 300 delegates from various communities come together. So we've built up our mandate. We know what communities want. We just need an open, transparent, and responsive government that will be able to listen to the people. If that doesn't happen, Naledi, then the government of national unity, whoever is going to be there, will drive communities towards increasing frustration. Already yesterday, like I said, in Harmony, communities were so angry because the mine doesn't want to listen to them that they wanted to resort to violence. And we can only do so much to say, listen, please, let's have a conversation. Ultimately, if people are going to be angry, there's nobody that will stop them. And the mines need to listen. They need to come to the game. There's Neil Fronemans and these people who want to only steal and take out money, they need to have a wake-up call. Otherwise, we're ending up with another Marikana somewhere along the line, and then who's to be blamed? They look at the people and say, yeah, you to be blamed, when it's the politicians and the businesses who are so greedy and who are taking people's wealth without distributing it evenly. That is the problem.
Christopher Rutledge, an absolute pleasure having you on the show. He's, of course, Executive Director for MACAU, who is the Mining Affected Communities United in Action, speaking to us there.